All right, welcome back to the Winning Agenda's coverage of the Melbourne Regionals 2015. We've got Wilfred E. Horig on the Winning Agenda podcast, Matt, at the bottom of your screen, and we have Tim E. Cuozzo on the top of your screen on the Games Laboratory playmat. I've got here with me Liam Shielsy Prasad. Welcome, Shielsy.
Thank you, Jesse. How you doing?
I'm going well. Tell us a little bit about what you know about Tim and Wilfy and what you expect to see from this match.
Tim and Wilfy are possibly the giganticest big dumb baby you'll ever meet, and then the littlest druid you'll ever meet. So together they're quite the pair.
Yeah, so Tim's Blue Sun, I think this may be the first game that our viewers are going to see of Tim's Blue Sun, but they've seen Wilfy piloting his HB before, but not his Andromeda. So do you know anything about either of their decks? Have you played against these guys piloting these decks before?
Yeah, definitely. I actually played with Tim just ahead of this game. So we both lost in the first round of the top 8, and then we got paired up against each other in the first round of the lower bracket. So Tim swept me out there with a very long, grindy game. I had a Desperado economy and no deck left because I was running Mac. So we got into this kind of long game position where he had no real ice res, but was able to just grind out very slowly an Atlas with one counter, and then fished for a hedge fund and just got ahead of me on credits. And then because the game went so long, he had the Sea Source double scorched. So he's packing that standard Scorch strategy. He's packing the Oversight AI Curtain Wall combination, and he has the Hadrian's Walls and the Curtain Walls.
Right, so that Oversight AI is something that I saw Tim plopping down pretty early in quite a few games. It seems pretty important to his deck. So he's got a Jackson Howard on turn 1 here. Do you think that might be what he's fishing for?
Yeah, potentially. Maybe he has one piece. Maybe he's looking for the other. It's a little bit more tricky on turn 1 because you want to spend 2 clicks on it. But he could very well be setting up for turn 2. Especially from Andromeda.
So he's just drawn the Oversight there, I think, on that last draw. So, yeah, the other thing about Wilfy's Andromeda is he's running off a security testing Desperado engine. So Tim, if he does know that, which he probably should at this point, will be wanting to lock up those central servers pretty early to shut down that testing.
So having a Jackson online to try and find that ice that he can res is pretty important. I mean, he might still have between 15 and...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you there, Shielsy, but we've got an account siphon coming down on turn 2. On turn 1, yeah.
But look, like, Oversight AI is still 1 credit. He can still bounce back from that pretty quickly.
That's true.
But, yeah, Wilfy certainly can't keep those tags. There's a risk of Beanstalk Scorch straight out the gate, especially now that Tim's seen 10 cards, essentially.
Could even be Beanstalk Scorch Traffic Accident.
That's it, with double tag.
From 5 cards.
Yeah, just another reason Traffic Accident is good at 0 credits to play. And I really like this out of Wilfy's economy package, the proliferation of daily casts and Earthrise Hotels. That'll come down from his early hand and just put him in a great position on turn 4 or turn 5 as that Stealth Rig develops at the same time.
So he's got that daily cast dripping in, he's got the credits from the Siphon and the Short Gamble, putting him far ahead here. Tim's gone for just an install, and has he gained 2 credits at the back of his mat there, I think?
Yeah, 2 credits up. And look, I think there's probably not even a good position to Oversight AI here. Wilfy does have so many credits, just like you said. If you Oversight AI as a Curtain Wall or anything like that, Wilfy can just play the Corroder and bash straight through it.
We could just see, even, Special Order Corroder, install, and run.
Bash it down,
He's got enough credits to get in, Yeah.
That kind of pressure of the Corroder, the run, and the tags all at the same time. Maybe Tim can set it up so just there's a Scorched and an Oversight just on turn 3 or turn 4 here, and kind of get Wilfy right there and then. But
yeah, and as the next couple, so we've got an Atlas Steel FRMD there, and a hostile. So 3 points for Wilfy, which is huge. To get those points early against Blue Sun, put them far behind in the points race, really makes it harder for them to threaten scoring out, doesn't it?
Yeah, so many of those clicks are just spent bouncing that ice back and forth, and the board develops so granularly, so slowly.
Alright, so we've got an Oversight on the toll booth, which is really not where Tim is going to want to be, you would think.
Yeah.
Only looking at an 8 credit upside, even if he can keep it alive.
Yeah, I mean, he could have put it on a remote, blocking the passport. But But I guess at this point, maybe he doesn't know Wilfy only has one R&D interface, and he is scared of that R&D run, especially with 3 points already.
Yeah, I guess when you've just lost 3 points in the last turn, you probably feel a little bit more protective of your R&D, don't you?
That's it. And yeah, look, we might see it pay off if Wilfy can't get that passport down. Then it'll pay off nicely. What's he got? So Wilfy's had the quality time. He's got a lot of cards there. The testing comes down. Oh, he's going to remove the tags. There you go.
He's removing the tags, yeah. So, I mean, that was good play from Tim, because as the time goes by, keeping those tags becomes more and more dangerous for Wilfy, because there's a higher percentage chance Tim's going to draw into the Scorched or the traffic accident if he's playing them.
That's it. And look, Tim was about to take 8 credits. That's more than enough for him to play that Scorched, or draw a card and play double Scorched.
Yeah.
But up until this point, you know, he had the 2 credits or the 3 credits, so the threat wasn't too high of double Scorched. Maybe Wilfy knows he doesn't actually have any beanstalks. I know we've all done quite a bit of testing with Tim, so we've seen his list a few different times inside out. Yeah.
So Wilfy's he's using that little token, the virus token there, for his security testing on archives.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the daily cast money still coming in, so his economy engine's really set up here between Desperado, daily cast, and security testing.
Yeah. 17 credits and 3 points so early in the game. And I'm a little bit surprised Tim
Lotus
didn't.
Field's not a bad one.
Yeah. No, you ran Lotus Field in your Nats list, right?
Yeah. It's a good one against Crims as well.
Mm-hmm.
Reasonably taxing for them to get in with their code gate breakers.
And a lot of the Crims don't have a way to go through Lotus Field on the remote either. Just because Passport's central only. And Yogg is the cheapest influence way to get their code gate breaker. So Yogg data cycle builds are still really common. This isn't one of them, obviously.
So we've got that Lotus Field coming back to hand there. What do you think of that?
Yeah, interesting. Tim might be looking to start scoring out. He might also have a hedge fund in hand. We'll see what he does.
So he's essentially sacrificed some tempo just to be able to protect that R&D for that turn, which, again, when you've lost those 3 points, you become a little bit more protective of your R&D. Whether rightly or wrongly statistically, but it's certainly how you feel.
Yeah. Well, like, he does need to respond to that chance that Wilfy could just pluck off the top. Like, especially if Wilfy does draw down to that R&D interface. Like, if I saw my opponent lead with an early Earthrise and an early quality time, I would be a little bit wary of a Maker's Eye or an R&D interface, or even a medium, you know, just coming down whenever he pleases.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for Tim. I mean, a turn 1 Siphon really just puts you so far behind, but he's recovered reasonably well to have a piece of ice rezzed and some credits in the bank at this point.
And he mulliganed into a no ice hand as well, hey?
Yeah, it's really not where you want to be.
No, not at all. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised he's going for the remote so quickly here, given that Wilfy has testings down. Maybe he has the Scorch package in hand and wants Wilfy to make consistent runs.
I mean, the other thing he knows is that Wilfy's playing the Stealth Suite, so forcing him to run into the toll booth and the data pike repeatedly early before he can break them is really where he wants to be.
Yeah.
Particularly where he can get the refund on the ice straight away. So if that is an Atlas in that server, he might look to score it now. We really don't know what it is.
Come on, man. Stop fondling them. I want to see what that is. He's taking credits.
So he's gaining 2, and you'd think there'd be an install here. No, restructure.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he just wants to run Wilfy into it over and over. What could that be? An executive boot camp? An NAPD contract?
Yeah, I would think it would be unlikely to be a contract. He wouldn't want to throw away 2 points, give Wilfy 5 points total just for 4 credits when Wilfy's got sort of 3 5s, I think, sitting there. So he's on about 20. Yeah. So he's checking it. We'll see what it is. It's a boot camp.
Yeah. Awesome. So there's Tim's Jackson. Or maybe his copy of The Root, if he has one.
Or perhaps an Adonis. He does run the one of Adonis for the economy boost. That you
the classic replicate the beanstalk.
Yep.
Yeah, how do you find that goes when testing's involved? Because I know that you tested it a little bit, but shied away from it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for a shell game. I think it's good if you're wanting to develop one remote and just sort of keep them wary of when exactly the agenda's coming down. And you've got a couple of ice in front of it, but in this sort of situation, it's not as powerful, particularly with testing on the board, as you say, because Wilfy could just go run it with testing, then run it. And it's not really presenting him any threat at all. It's not even taxing him.
Yeah, Tim's not really in a position to develop a remote and combat with testings at the moment. And on top of that, I just tend to be skeptical of shell games in Wayland, given that you only have 1 3 for 2.
Yeah, and the threats are really a snare, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and even snare's not good enough sometimes.
Yeah, so we've seen Tim icing up that executive boot camp, possibly indicating that he is going to try and fish for that Adonis and install it their next turn. But again, he's still got that archives unprotected, which means that testing's still online if Wilfy ever wants it. Or now we're seeing...
that's a big game.
Yeah, Siphon come in. So Tim's just sort of essentially spent 3 or 4 turns carefully working himself up into restructure range, playing the restructure, and now he's lost that credit swing really sharply back the other way again.
Yeah, I think he's going to really need to get that Adonis online. Maybe even leave it around for a turn and take that extra credit if he can risk it.
The problem is also that in the interim, Wilfy's been able to develop his rig a bit, so he's now got a really efficient code gate breaker in front of him.
Yeah. Like, I think I would have been so wary just of Masanori coming down at any point, and Wilfy's game just absolutely taking off that quickly. I probably would have just gone for the early ice on archives. I really don't think you can justify not answering that. Admittedly, Tim might only have 4 pieces of ice. That could certainly be what's going on here.
Absolutely, and he doesn't want to see that Siphon again next turn. So he's quite rightly iced up HQ a little more.
Yeah.
And now looks like he's gaining a couple of credits. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see him potentially even fishing for a Jackson here with that boot camp at the end of turn and trying to draw into some more ice. He's really got to go quickly, because while Wilfy's only got 1 icebreaker, at least Tim's got some scope to either go for the oversight on the curtain wall and force the corroder, or to try and develop the remote and force Wilfy to run in there.
Yeah, I think oversight would be a great piece to find at this point. Even oversight on the toll booth on the remote, he could put the Adonis behind it, or he could, maybe even risk 2 points. The problem with
oversighting the toll booth is that Wilfy's just going to be able to get straight through with that refractor.
That's it. Yeah. It could be like the 2 ice server.
Okay, so he's got the hostile now, so that's at least the archers are turned on. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's 1 in the bin.
That's alright. He's got 3, right?
Yeah. So I'd say he'll be probably trying to see one of those again soon. I mean, the problem with Archer and investing in it against this sort of deck is that if they're not going to face plan into it, once they've got the Switchblade out, once the runner has the Switchblade out, they're just going to be able to break that for 2 stealth credits.
That's it. But look, there is certainly, there's the Masanori coming down. He's going to fetch the testing, fetch the card off the top. I think there's some game here for Tim to play out that oversight Archer server. Or remember, he's got the Lotus field in the mix as well, although it's not doing anything with refractor down. But if he can, like you say, try and be proactive with that scoring mechanism behind the Archer, he might just be able to catch Wilfy out.
Yeah, he's really got to make a play soon, because probably even now, it's almost getting to the point where Wilfy's rig is so far developed that Tim's not going to be able to sufficiently tax him, given the economy lead that Wilfy has, to force any threat on him, either scoring or scorch.
And with Masanori down on the board, there's Wilfy's rig development's not going to slow down while he's pressured to make that testing run, or just to keep his economy ahead. His rig's going to keep developing.
We've seen him fetch Elizabeth Mills here to get rid of that bad pub from the hostile takeover. I'm not really sure about that. I'm not sure the bad pub credit is really going to make as much difference as what a Jackson would on Tim's side. Fishing for some pieces, but again, it is a good card.
Yeah, absolutely.
To have.
I mean, if Tim's genuinely afraid of repeated runs on R&D, another way he could combat that is by icing archives just at all. I think I agree with you here. Any other asset probably would have been fine. If he has more ice and he can ice archives and deal with that bad pub, maybe he'll be able to crawl back that economic advantage. But But Wilfy has
He's left that testing for so
30
long.
credits, yeah.
Yeah. So testing's just been accumulating Wilfy credits at a rate that Tim's never going to be able to match.
Wilfy credits in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the scariest type of credits.
They are. They're Hasbiroid specific money. You can trade them in at any Biroid shop.
Yeah, even Aesop's pawn shop, I think they take them there as well.
Mm-hmm. Although only if you're buying more Wilfies.
Yeah, of which there are plenty.
Yeah.
So we've got Plascrete coming down, which is really the nail in the coffin for Tim in terms of trying to put any scorched pressure on.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's essentially got a one-dimensional deck where he's going to have to try and score through that remote.
Yeah.
We're assuming that that's an Ash underneath that Elizabeth Mills that was installed there. Might explain why he was trying to get rid of the Bad Pub, because Bad Pub really does make Ash a whole lot less efficient.
Yeah.
But again, given how far ahead Wilfy is on in credits, it's going to be a long way for Tim to get to a point where he can safely install an agenda.
Mm-hmm. And look, if Tim does manage to get down a hedge fund or get down a restructure, an Ash could be able to put him back in this game. Wilfy only has 2 of the stealth credits floating, and neither of them are off a silencer. And he only has the 1 fairy installed, and that's his memory limit. So it's not going to be the case that Wilfy slams down another fairy and gets through that archer twice. If he does want to go into that Ash, if Tim does in fact have it, he's going to need to have a run, trash the Ash, play another fairy, run back in there, and he may just not have the stealth credits to power Refractor twice and the fairy to power through Archer twice.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that he's so far ahead on credits, he doesn't even really need to go twice.
That's
like
it.
He can.
I just overpowered the trace. It's still a trace, right? Yeah. I always forget that because Ash just seems so ubiquitous.
Yeah, it just sort of seems like you got to come in twice.
Yeah. Yeah, you still have to pay.
So there goes the Mills on HQ, from HQ rather. So he's gone straight through that hive, even though it's got 4 subroutines.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that as Tim. Like you've made him spend, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including the trash, just to get rid of the Elizabeth Mills from your hand. That's not really doing anything at this point.
Yeah.
That's a fine trade.
But at the same time, Wilfy has the Masanori down. So anytime he jacks out or lets a run end before making it successful, he will have to take that tag. So just in terms of the comparative advantage, I think it's certainly the case that paying 5 to go through that hive and get 1 back in the access, so a net of 4 is,
and the card draw
the card draw, is better than making the run, stopping, spending that click, and 2 credits clearing the tag, because that's worth 3 anyway, or it's worth 2 in a card. Or
the other key thing is that Wilfy gets the info about the ice in front of HQ, which allows him in for another siphon, which could really be the coup de grace here. Yeah. So we've got the Archer
the
res.
Coup de Grace?
Yeah.
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 The big cheese.
The grace. Yeah. So we've got the Archer resed on the remote, which ate up a fairy.
Mm-hmm.
And also ate up that hostile takeover. Got a run on archives, not with testing. So Wilfy's just prodding and prying around there, seeing what he can find.
Letting him know he can't afford to discard without that Jackson. Setting up for that legwork.
And then we've got that interface. So he's really just threatening all 3 centrals.
And here we go. Tim bounces the toll booth,
Yeah, he's taking back the toll booth. So is he really trying to invest in that remote, do you think?
How many credits does he have there? He may be looking to replace it.
12.
He's digging with that card. That's a Hadrian's Wall.
Right, so he's gone... Yeah, I mean, if he goes into big barrier mode, it could really be the only way that he can tax Wilfy out. And if he's sort of thought that through and that's the plan he's going for, I think it's the right plan.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Against the
developing
barriers.
Your credits, developing the credits and investing in the Hadrians and the curtain walls will mean that Wilfy's runs are going to be very expensive for him.
Mm-hmm. And look, if he can shut down that... I think one of the big advantages of this style of list is that looking at archives, where there's only an ice wall, Wilfy can still make testing runs there, spending a cloak credit, so it lets him turn those cloak credits into real ones. The toll booth's dead. But once Tim has 2 pieces of ice, or 1 solid piece of ice on each server, that testing actually does turn off, and then Wilfy's economy is completely powered by clicking for credits. And
I'll just mention also that I think that he took back the toll booth to fund the restructure.
To fund the restructure,
Wilfy's seen
yeah.
2 hedge funds on top, which sort of makes you think what's sitting in Tim's hand, and then he's gone for the legwork.
That's it, yeah.
From the looks of it, I think there's a couple of scorched, a sea source, and NAPD. There's another card, curtain wall.
In the curtain wall.
Okay,
yeah.
so Wilfy's missed on the legwork. So this is actually looking okay for Tim.
Yeah.
He's got Wilfy down to 15 credits. Yes, he has a plascrete, but Tim's not that far behind economically.
Yeah.
And if he can start powering out those barriers on the centrals, he could put himself in a really decent position.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah, if you can just get down a bit more of a tax on each central and really provide Wilfy with no other option but to click for credits.
So he drew with his first click. Sorry to interrupt you. He's drawn with his first click, which means he's got both of those hedge funds in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's played out.
You're going to have to go
ice.
discard
So
again?
what do you think that'll be?
The ice?
Yeah.
Oh, his economy's put ahead here. It could be the toll booth again. He could be looking...
that curtain wall.
But Tim has drawn the card. I think 2 fresh cards merits the curtain wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least while Wilfy's... Tim has 5 for 3s in his deck as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll definitely be wary about leaving fresh cards on top with an R&D interface in play. What are we going to see? Yeah. So Wilfy's turning those cloak credits into real credits, going into archives twice.
And then he's also checking archives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look, this is the advantage of having those cloak credits, but the cost is that outside of your shore gamble and your daily cast, when you want to take credits, they're gonna have to be real credits, just 1 click per cred. So if Tim can draw this out, Wilfy, if Tim can draw this out with enough barriers, Wilfy really won't have any options anymore. Other than to inside job, which he hasn't actually spent any inside jobs yet. I think he might have 2, at least 1 inside job in the list.
So we can see the toll booth in Tim's hand there, and we've also seen him use that second hedge fund.
Mm-hmm.
So we can assume probably that's the curtain wall on R&D.
Mm-hmm.
He'll really be, you would think, digging for his Hadrian's wall or his Hadrian walls. I don't know how many he's playing, and some more curtain walls to try and develop those services.
I do know he does really like big barriers. So
he does.
Yeah. There's a few in there.
Booth,
there is.
Toll booth on archives wouldn't be the worst play, I wouldn't think here.
Yeah, I would really like to see that. You can redeploy that ice wall later just as inside job protection on the remote, or even on R&D. Just force Wilfy to actually handle that curtain wall every time he wants to check. So I think that would be a great way to go from here.
So we've got a tag from the curtain wall. So he's taken the end around subroutine.
Big game. Of course, Wilfy would never run last click.
No. And he's removed that tag.
Mm-hmm. But look, he's running low on cards. And in this deck, the cards are the economy. So he's going to run out of steam soon with those servers starting to tie up like that. But Tim really needs to ice up archives now.
Yeah, I mean, Tim's ice suite is not the worst against this sort of deck because this deck eats code gates and sentries for breakfast, but it struggles a little more with barriers.
Yeah, and he's got those hives, curtain walls, Hadrian's walls, and even just ice walls that can potentially even be advanced, which is an awful thing to try and suggest, but...
Alright, so we're seeing a Siphon, which is really going to put Tim pretty far behind. He's gone for the install advance in the remote. If that's an NAPD, I'm not sure that it was necessary to do that now. NAPD, when you score it, doesn't really give you that much upside. We don't know what it is. If it was an Atlas, that may be a better play.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have liked to see him really defend a little more. I think he had Wilfy quite low, and if he'd had some more ice on those centrals, he could have put a lot of pressure.
That's it, yeah.
Instead, he's gone for the ice on the remote and the install.
Yeah, it may be a matter of breaking under pressure. He feels like he should... maybe he feels like Wilfy has the inevitability. It is hard to tell sometimes when you feel like your opponent's just getting in there for next to nothing, but you got to know that against these stealth-oriented decks that can really only turn their cards into economy, when they start to run out of those cards, the economy dries up, and that's when you can really pounce.
That's when the bluff
Take
becomes
advantage.
stronger. That's when the bluff into the remote or even feeding them an NAPD in the remote becomes better.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, he's let him in with the Siphon far too cheaply.
Yeah.
Only 1 hive there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So I think he thought about raising that Lotus Field, but he didn't because he's getting in for free essentially using the Refractor. So that's gone back face down. And the Ash is getting rezzed just to force a few extra credits out of Wilfy. But that trace is going to get defeated and that Ash is going to get trashed, we'll assume.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think that remote looks like? Tollbooth, Archer, Lotus Field?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Tim had a lot of potential there if he didn't just get siphoned out. And that's such a classic play to reactively siphon as soon as the corp tries to overstep its bounds.
Yeah, and it was the Atlas, so
Good call on that Atlas. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little more powerful than the NAPD play, a little more upside for Tim there, but at the same time, it's cost him a little bit as well because he hasn't even managed to tax Wilfy that extra 4.
Yeah, and look, Tim's seen so many cards at this point. I do really question what the tutor could give him because he can't tutor for the Sea Source or the Scorch package because Wilfy has the Plascrete. He's seen most of his economy. Could just be another piece of ice, but at the same time, he's bouncing his ice around. It just doesn't seem like that much of a priority.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's keeping the Sea Source and the Scorch in hand in case, to make sure Wilfy honors the tag punishment and doesn't just go taking tags willy-nilly. But at the same time, if it's causing him to feed points through that remote like that, I think the upside of keeping them is really outweighed.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see? I'd want to be pitching them about now. Yeah,
I think Tim really needs to just consolidate these resources and get his defenses up.
Considering that a Sea Source Scorched isn't even a kill through Plascrete.
Yeah. And Wilfy's coming down really low. He's down to 11 credits after.
Okay, so we've got the Sea Source in the bin there. Yeah, you're right. Wilfy's down to actually lower credits than Tim, I think, for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
But he does have that Earthrise online now.
Yeah. Oh, look, the deck's coming down really low. Wilfy may not even be able to complete it. I think it's hard to tell straight from above how much is left in that deck, but the shadow is very slim, maybe?
Maybe 10 or 15 cards in there, maybe somewhere around 10. So he's oversighting the curtain wall on the outside, which I think is a really good play. It's forcing Wilfy to break it because he doesn't want Tim to get too far ahead. But in doing so, he's going to put himself quite low. Yeah.
So look, he could open up another scoring window here. He has the toll booth on the remote as well as the Lotus Field, so he will be pressuring Wilfy to pay quite a few real credits towards, or at least draining the Ghost Runner. At the same time, he can't afford to miss because Wilfy's already on 5.
Yeah. The other upside on that R&D play with the curtain wall there is that he can res the second curtain wall behind it, potentially.
Yeah, Wilfy's going to have to take a tag, so...
Yeah, so he's res that second one, and Wilfy's taking the tag.
Yeah, middle loads up.
And I guess the cute little upside there is that the second curtain wall is still strength 10, because it's now the outermost piece of ice.
Yep, picking up the fallen shield.
But the problem for Tim is that he's now got a curtain wall in the bin, which is not really where he wants them to be at this point in the game.
Especially because if he can get back into this game and those hives turn off, Wilfy will have the opportunity.
All right, well, he's got that Adonis, and now I think is the perfect time for it. He's going to force Wilfy to come through that remote. I mean, unfortunately, he hasn't got a barrier on there, which is really what you would have wanted.
That's it.
If that is the toll booth as the outermost piece on that remote, it's not great.
I think if I was in this position, I don't think I would be wary of what Tim's just put into that remote. I just don't see Tim being on 0 points as a real threat at the moment. If he wants to develop his points when he's still so behind on board, I think that's something Wilfy will be happy to let him do.
Yeah, and he still hasn't shut down that security testing on Archives, which is really hurting him again.
Yeah.
I mean, Wilfy's gone up to 11 credits this turn, and he really shouldn't have.
That's it, yeah. This has been happening a bit too much. 20 turns in. You can see my sneaky foot down there in the bottom right.
Lovely thongs or flip-flops.
Yeah.
For our American
vibrant green.
Yeah. So the Adonis and the bounce. So he's netting 3 credits there for that click he spent to install.
And yeah, I think Tim can still get back into this. It'll take...
I think he's worked himself. I think he's worked his way back in. I think if he'd possibly... I mean, it's impossible when you're playing a complex game like this, particularly where you get siphoned on turn 1, to be cognizant of everything.
Yeah.
But I think if he'd been a little more focused on shutting down that testing as a first priority, then maybe it would have helped him to keep Wilfy a little lower. But he's done a really good job, I think, in getting back into a game.
Yeah, I think he's kept it really
lost.
tight. And look, he still has 2 Jacksons left in the deck, so he can get those curtain walls back in. He can maybe potentially find a second toll booth.
Yeah. But interns can also get Ash back, which is important as well.
Yeah, it's a big
Especially
deal.
now that
Because
he's
if
ahead
Wilfy's
on
economy
credits.
dries up, if you can get Wilfy's economy dried up, that Ash will be just so good.
Okay, so we've got double testing now, one on R&D, one on archives. So he's really got to shut that down if he wants to have any hope of ever scoring through that remote.
Seeing the toll booth there, do you reckon Wilfy can complete this run?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's only got to pay 2 stealth credits with the switchblade to get through that archer, and then only another 1 stealth
and he
one
has
real
those
credit.
ghost credits, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Tim might just be looking at redeploying that Lotus field.
Yeah, so he's just trying to tax Wilfy as much as possible here. Yeah, I would really want to be just recouping the 5 from that Lotus field and getting rid of it.
Something I've been really actually quite impressed by was the power of just multiple ghost runners in play.
Oh yeah.
The all those gaps that seemed to be rife with the stealth decks just disappear. That's the game.
There it is. Yeah, there's
game.
that Atlas off the top. I mean, that was the thing. All Tim could really try and do was force things through the remote, and he had no room to bluff and no room to feed even one agenda because Wilfy was already on 5 points. So
maybe there was a game there where Tim could have just cut his losses with a Lotus field and trashed the way when he deployed out the toll booth rather than try and redeploy the Lotus field, because that is what put him outside of curtain wall range at the end there. But that's exactly how Wilfy's going to play. He's going to try and get you to run around in circles in those servers and just leave something open. Really well played.
Yep, solid from both guys there. Wilfy had a really strong start. Tim gave it a red hot go, but unfortunately couldn't claw it back.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.